Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Discussions in the Afterlife. Today we're going to talk about physical interaction in the afterlife, and this video contains very, very strong language.
Well, at your house, but not so much mine.
Correct, yeah, they're much more polite around Colleen than they are me. But this is not recommended for the kids. I'm going to be dropping the F-bomb and whatnot. It's kind of adult stuff, you know what I mean? So, and that's always been the way. They have always been gentler and kinder here in Colleen's house than anywhere I've ever done a study. Not sure why that is. I guess they just respect you more than they respect me.
I don't know.
So let's see where this takes us, Colleen. We're going to go all the way back to Forgedale, one of the first buildings that we did long term. We were there about a year. This ancient old place built in the early 1700s, and it was great. The guy flipped us a key. The caretaker flipped us a key, and we went in and learned an awful lot. We learned a lot at Forgedale. Very gruff, rough and tumble type of place. It was just the people, it was an old mill, and the people that worked at the mill and lived in the house, it was just a rough group of people, and they're still rough today, to this point, language-wise and whatnot. We didn't get much, we never asked about sex in the afterlife. Back in those days, we're judging everything we learned on what we hear. Randomness is what we hear.
Right. We would walk through a house with our recorders on and say hello. Is anybody, like trying to sauce out names or just to get a reaction, really.
Right.
And on the in-between, you would hear side conversations, I think, more so than them talking to us at all. And it had some pretty foul stuff going on.
Yeah, there's always nasty stuff going on in that house in particular. But the only thing sensual in Forgedale was a woman asked someone to kiss me. I don't know, but that started us thinking about what is going on in the afterlife. In Hilbert, which was this next long-term place we had, again, we had a sweet owner who flipped us the key to this empty house, and Colleen and I were there about a year, every week for about a year, and there we get a little bit more. One woman, we record a woman saying, "Kiss me," and a male says, "Absolutely." Another time we were there, a woman tells someone, "It's time you kiss me." And another time still, and a woman, she might have been speaking to me, this one, "You make jokes for your penis size."
I'm not saying
I don't
anything.
think all right. And then, of course, there's yet another time in Hilbert, a woman tells someone, "Fuck right here." I don't
Which
know.
is surprising because that house, the Hilbert house, seemed to be a house that was lived in by people that were really, hardworking but refined church-going people. So to hear
Right.
that kind of behavior or language in that house to me was surprising. They were mad at you for not taking your hat off one day.
That is true.
Like, that was disrespectful.
But that was before, Colleen, that was before we began to understand that wherever we go, our group members go with us.
That's right.
So we did not know that at the beginning of Hilbert. So we assumed everything we heard were from residents, invisible residents of that house. It's not the case. Wherever we go, you included, wherever we go as humans, our invisible family members go with us. So that woman that says, "Fuck right here," might be one of our relatives.
Probably one of his. Like, I know we're related and all, but I kind of think that some of that is just people I don't know. and they're with Jim. So here in the Albanese house, again, I wasn't asking any questions. This was a study a while back. And upstairs, we heard a man say, Joel's trying to kiss you. Give him his rights.
His rights. That's rather sexist.
Yeah, nowadays you wouldn't get very far. And then on the steps, another man says, come in. Have you come to kiss me? So, maybe it was somebody he knew and he was being playful.
Or a joke with a little hee-hee at the end that he did.
Yeah. And then over here in the kitchen, a man says, I ain't going to kiss you. You never have tequila for it. So it must be somebody who he would just never, ever kiss, and he'd have to drink a lot of tequila to do it.
I don't know. If somebody's offering me tequila, I'd kiss him.
Yes, you would. And then again in the kitchen at my house, a woman says, strip poker, Henry.
Which is really kind of odd for a woman. Usually it's the boy that says, hey, do you want to play strip poker? It's kind of weird that a woman would come out and say that to Henry.
Well, either that or it was a younger male that had a higher pitched voice. Maybe we just mistakenly thought it was a... I don't know.
I don't know.
Because I agree with you.
I don't know.
Most women would be like, I'm not going to suggest that
Yeah, exactly.
to play strip poker.
I was down in Volcancito in Panama, and I remember one time I was explaining redos to the empty house full of invisible people, and a person, I'm not even sure if it's male or female, we never figured it out, comes out and says, nearly cracked up giving head. I don't know. I don't know why they would say that. It's just an odd comment. And then another study, a woman with a very sultry, is that the word? Sultry voice?
That's a good word.
In the spare room, she goes, but remember, you owe me a kiss. Maybe she was talking to me. I don't know.
One would like to think, yes.
And again, in the spare room, there's a lot of action in the spare room. A woman says, I kissed her. And a man says right back to her, I never want to think about that. He just can't imagine. In the bedroom, I'm thanking the house at the end of the study. I'm over wrapping it up. And we record a man in that bedroom saying to someone, let's go see Miss Floppy. Now that can only be a terrible strip joint, right? Miss Floppy. And there was this crazy, again in the spare room. I don't know, man, what is it up with spare rooms? But we get this whole conversation between 3 or so different people. A man says, now lead the way and get naked. And another man says, I'll be the first coming naked, standing naked. And soon he adds, look at me naked. And then another guy walks in the room and says, hey, everybody. I don't know what these people are doing. And then it gets kind of serious. One time we recorded a woman in the living room near where I was sitting explain to somebody they didn't fuck me, which might be good. And in go figure, back in the spare room, a man says to somebody, fuck me in that bed.
So yeah, at your house down south there in Panama, the spare room's like the happening place. So yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, that's where I stay when I visit you.
Yes.
So it makes me think twice as I fall asleep at night, like what's happening around me. So, but then I did a more recent study here at this house, and I now we're asking questions because we've heard so much of this over the years. And I said, why did the man say, I'm going to marry you and have a baby? Which we heard in a previous study. And a man says, a lot can happen. And a woman says, that's important. And then, of course, I asked, who is pregnant in this house? And some man said, there are two of them. And another man said, I know you're pregnant. And he wasn't pointing to me. It was somebody else, for sure. And then we asked, is sex better in the afterlife or as a human? And a man says, better afterlife. And another man says, I'm pretty uncomfortable, which I get it. And then somebody just yells out of nowhere, I don't know. So maybe they're embarrassed too, and they're acting like, I don't know.
Yeah, sex conversations, even with dead people, can be uncomfortable, it seems.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Right. But I do have a quote that Colleen and I are going to talk about right here at the end. But
Okay. So just to like kind of sum this up, as far as like, there is this physical interaction in the afterlife. And to me, and maybe other people, that seems surprising. You don't think of, ghosts in that stereotypical view as somebody interacting with other ghosts. It's more of a solitary interaction,
no, it's a very communal party going on in the afterlife.
Right. It's as if they're still doing what we're doing, but without that physical body.
Yeah. Yeah, the afterlife might not really be quite the correct term. It's almost like parallel universe.
Right.
They're talking and thinking,
And working and just doing everything that we do.
A friend of ours, Margie, she works with recorders. I helped her get started down in Panama. And she recorded a guy just last week telling her to buy a Tesla. Now that's pretty up to date. These people are paying attention. They talk about Google. They talk about, they're very current. How that is, are they getting that through us? I don't know. We don't know. But let's do this quote real quick, Colleen. All right. So last year, you were here in this house talking about our grandfather, nicknamed Bubba. He's a boss in the afterlife. And when Colleen and I do these studies where we put the recorders around the house and record their voices, she was asking about Bubba last year, and a person came out and said, worry about the life, not to please him. That was really an interesting quote. Because of course it's our grandfather, we were close to him. And yeah, we want to help him in the afterlife with this project that we're involved with. But this man is warning us off and telling us, just worry about the life. These lives that we're living, they're important. And they're important to those people in the afterlife. We have to get through this as good humans. That way our entire group, visible people and invisible people, get a lift. Get ahead is the phrase they use in the afterlife. Every group is trying to get ahead. So we practice at being good people. That's key.
That is key.
So people, subscribe, like, thumbs up, share, all the above. You got to help us with this. We're trying to get this thing started. Thanks very much for doing this. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.